You ever worry because your parents keep telling you to have a baby, get a baby, get married, have a baby? It could be worse because you could be like this gentleman. In India, his own parents sued him and his wife for not having a baby yet. Let's go to some of the details of this. Sued him. Sanjiv Ranjan Prasad, apologies, and his wife, Sadhana Prasad, residents of Haridwar city in the northern state of Uttarakhand, jeez, you guys did this to me, have moved to court and are now seeking a compensation of approximately $649,000 from the couple if they are unable to have a child within the next year. Here's a quote from them. "We didn't care about gender."
Okay, it sounds like you did though.
Am I not merciful? We just wanted a grandchild. Of course, there's a bunch of in-law drama that goes with this because this is just natural when it comes to lawsuits over humans potentially being born. Mr. Prasad has cited financial struggles for suing his son after he got married in 2016 with the quote, hopes of having a grandchild. He also alleged that his daughter-in-law and her family control his son's finances and they have prevented him from having a child. Prasad has apparently decided that he's owed this grandchild because it's return on taking care of his son. So only reason I kept you alive, kid, is because you're supposed to give me more of you. So I gave my son all my money, got him trained in America. I don't have any money now. We've taken a loan from the bank to build a house. We're troubled financially and personally, Prasad added. In a petition filed before the court on May 7th, Mr. Prasad claimed he spent nearly $316,000 to raise his only child, a sum that was more than he could afford. Mr. Prasad brought an expensive car for the couple and loaned money and also paid approximately $6,500 for the couple's honeymoon in Thailand. That's where the babies are supposed to be coming from. Didn't you know that, bro?
But then didn't deliver on that
$6,500 for a trip to Thailand. That's a beautiful situation. You're supposed to be doing certain things while you're there. Maybe they did. So also, to his credit, because he's telling the truth because his son treated him, that his son then treated him poorly after all of this things that he did for him. More details. Prasad claimed that his son, who was a pilot with a commercial airline, moved to southern India's Hyderabad city, bought a house in his wife's name and ceased communication with his parents. When Mr. Prasad pressed his son for a grandchild, he alleged in the petition that the couple, quote, pretended to be separated, wow, as they both live in different cities due to their professions. So also, he and his wife, they've been pushing this expectation of a grandchild on their son for years. So this is nothing new. It's just this is the final straw. So a little bit more. The parents claim that they arranged their son's marriage to his wife. We finally got him married in 2016 with the hope that we would get a grandchild to play with in our retirement age, is what the father told the Times of India. However, almost 6 years have passed and there's no child. We're facing immense mental harassment. Wow. Woo! And if some may say these are maybe the social norms in India because of these parents put everything they did into their child. They're supposed to continue this growing family. It's not just that. So women in India are expected and often forced to bear children within a few years of their marriage. So maybe something to that. Traditional families in India have patriarchal setups with expectations of a male child, even though the sex ratio remains skewed in many parts of the country. So that's where they had their worries about saying, no, we're not even worried about it. We're not even putting that kind of pressure on you, bro. Just give us one.
Yeah, when you say, look, it could even be a girl child.
Yeah.
Probably you wanted a boy child.
It was like the first thing he says he doesn't care about gender, as if that's the issue in all of this. as if while you're suing your kid for $500,000, the issue is that it might be a girl.
Yeah, but they genuinely thought, are we not merciful? Like they view themselves as completely reasonable. Look, I grew up with a ton of Indian friends. I lived in a town in New Jersey that had a lot of different immigrants: Turkish, Indian, Korean, Chinese, etc. Right? And so this story.
Hey, did you grow up in Edison?
Really close, town over, East Brunswick. We used to play Edison in all the sports, right?
Yeah.
And so Edison's like the Indian capital of America.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, a lot of good progressives came out of Edison, including Adam Green from PCCC. All right, so not at all surprising. Like you might be surprised, like, oh come on, assuming because you didn't get a grandchild. I was thinking, when is this lawsuit finally gonna happen? Okay, but it's not just Indians. It's a lot of old school immigrant communities. Like I don't know that anybody in Turkey would sue, but you never know, right? But do they expect grandchildren? Oh hell yeah. I mean, look, I got married at 38. These folks would have sued me decades earlier, okay? And by 38, my parents are like, maybe you don't need to get married. Maybe kid anyway. Okay, I mean, they were getting desperate, okay? And that is unthinkable for Turkish parents, and they were thinking about it. So, and we did a story yesterday about the leftover women in China and how this guy brought over 20 deeds to commercial properties so that somebody would marry his 24-year-old son. Like, it's okay, we're rich, somebody come marry me, take my son, or my son, take him, okay? And it is amazing the different cultures we have on the same planet at the same time, where we look at this story, think it's the craziest thing we have ever heard. And tons of folks in India go, about time somebody got justice for grandparents.
I like too how he said how one of his grievances was we have no money. He like claimed financial hardship. Hey man, having a kid isn't gonna help that. Like if you're claiming financial hardship and you think a kid is gonna fix the financial hardship issue, I think you got another thing coming.
I think really fast. I think part of it also looks like they make a lot of money, the son and his wife. And then they're talking about how her parents control him and his money. It's almost like, hey, you guys are living pretty good over there. We spend a lot of our money to help you get to where you are, and maybe you're professional and all this stuff. How about you go ahead and either give us the child, because that's the big thing we want, or you got to pay us back if you don't want to do it. This exchange has to happen.
Yeah, and that goes to the differences in culture, because for us, we're trying to make sense of it. Like, how would it help you to get grandchildren if you bankrupt your kid, right? But for them, they think about it at like, wait, I spent all this money, and obviously the deal was that you would give us grandkids back. That's why we raised you. That's why we helped. We paid for the wedding, the honeymoon, whatever they paid for, right? And so the way you pay us back is through grandkids. And now you're not doing your end of the deal. Well, screw this. I'm gonna sue you and get my money back because it turns out you were a useless kid. And look, I know it sounds funny, guys, and it is funny to us. But I'm telling you, not just India, giant chunks of this world, and maybe even a majority of the world would go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. They spent all this money and got nothing.
You compare like that generation to my generation, basically, where you have an entire like echelon of young Americans who's like, we're not really having kids, not young anyway, and but we have dogs, and like this is just kind of an entire generation of people whose dogs are their children, and so it's just like the dichotomy of like those two things.
Yeah, that would not work for Indian parents. Don't worry, mom and dad, at least I got a dog. They're like, I'll see you in the Supreme Court, okay? I'm taking this case all the way. And again, they're not alone. And by the way, let's be fair, they were merciful. They're like, okay, we give you one more year, okay? If we don't have a kid within a year, that's it. You give us the money.
Hey, I bet Alito would grant it.
I was just gonna say that. If they take it to our Supreme Court, they'd be like, you know what? They do need to have
6'3".
Let's get this woman immediately pregnant. That's what they're.
And they waited a whole 6 years before suing. Okay, but I'm gonna remind you guys of the story from yesterday in the bonus episode. This lawsuit might seem even crazy. Hey, maybe you're angry, but suing, right? But remember, I told you a story about my great aunt. So this is like now, Jesus, like almost 100 years ago, right? In their little town in southeastern Turkey, she refused an arranged marriage, which was unheard of. That's because she's in my family and we got nothing but rebels, right? So and we have the strongest women in our family. And so she's like, no, I won't get married. They're like, everybody's like, what do you mean no? What does no mean? She's like, no means no, I'm not going to his house and I'm not getting married to him. So he sued her. He's like, her dad agreed, we had a deal, and I'm supposed to get my end of the bargain, which is that person over there, okay? She won. You know how she won? She said to the jury and the judge, look at him, would you marry him? Great aunt for the win, okay?
They're like compelling, not guilty.
Totally. And I asked her because, so she lived to 100 years old. I loved her, and I asked her about that story. And I said, so when they looked at him, was it compelling? She's like, oh yeah. So here look, I'm curious to see how they're gonna handle this in India. And we would be stunned, but is it possible they might win? Could you imagine? He's like, well, I didn't give you the kid in time. Here's $650,000 instead. That would be amazing.
Well,
beyond that, could you imagine what India is going to be like in the months after that, when all of these old people realize that they can start suing their grandkids if they don't start making babies? Like, no one's gonna leave their houses.
That's another good point.
Like, it's gonna be a weird time. There's gonna be a whole new generation of baby boomers.
No, Brian, I had not thought of that. That's a genius point. Like the looks around the houses for all the people who didn't have the kids yet, where the parents are looking at the kids who are married but don't have kids yet, like.
Lot of socks on bedroom doors. Let's just say.
Or they'll just point it out. They'll be like, "Did you hear about that case where this father sued his son for $500,000?"
Oh, every parent is gonna tell their kids that. That guaranteed. You know what? This case alone might move up the population of India by 1 or 2% if they win.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.